And as you're talking about, you were involved in Asian community, you was in the hood with, you know, your guys and all sorts of um I want to understand like your, because I think I'm with you, but I want to understand like what does that look like for you to know culture, because you're talking a lot about it, and I just want to uh because I can say it from my end, but I want to understand because I think you're hitting on something, because okay, we open up the tribe, right? You know,
All
to
right.
allow more in, but what
Okay.
does that look like, you know?
All
Or
right.
what did that look like for you? Because I think you touched on it a little bit.
So the blinder is love. So everybody wants to feel loved and accepted. So here's the crazy thing. I was probably the only black guy that hung out with a Mexican gang out in Northern California, like because those were guys that I grew up with. So you would see me, the only brother with 25 Mexican gangbangers, you know, and it was love because of an acceptance thing. And I didn't gangbang at all, but I knew these guys because I grew up with them. So I knew who they were. I knew their mom. Like I know your mama. I know you. You know, like I know you. You know, and when you feel like people know you, then it's accepted. So with that, it's like I used to see people come into the gang. Like I would just go over and hang out with these guys because they were cornballs.
Yeah.
You know, like the people in the city would be scared. You know, we laugh about it. You know, like they would be scared, like, oh my God, you know, there goes Tone, or there goes, you know, Augie, there goes, you know, some of my friends or whatever, and they would be like spooked. And I'm like, these guys are so corny behind closed doors.
Yeah.
You know, they're doing silly stuff like any other young guy does. Like you or, you know, mess around with your friends, you know, they're, you know, slapping each other in the head and
Yeah.
just being goofy, you know.
Yeah.
But in the streets, people are like, oh my God, don't mess with them.
Yeah.
And I will say, you know, some of them were crazy.
Yeah, you saw both sides of them, so yeah.
Yeah. But like you know, I remember one time there was a guy who came and he was younger. He was like, you know, maybe like 16. At the time I might have been like 20, 21. And he was like 16 trying to get in, you know, to hang with these gang guys, and he wanted to get jumped in. And I'm like, man, you don't want to get jumped into this.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be a part of this because but he wanted it because he wanted to feel accepted and he wanted the love. And he's like, you know, he's gonna get a tattoo on his face. And I'm like, don't get the tattoo. But he ended up getting a tattoo on his face,
Yeah.
you know, and he ended up getting in. And I told this dude, like, this is not something that you want. But when I would say probably a few months down the road, like the guy, you know, he started coming. His kid name was Ryan, and he he had such a broken family that
Right.
this.
Was he Mexican?
No, okay, so now you're gonna have me tell some war stories, man.
Well, the
I
thing
didn't.
is, I think I'm trying to process because I'm like, I think are they Mexicans? You said you had Filipino, age,
Yeah,
Cambodian, and so it was just you're very mixed in that, and so
yeah. So the story I'm telling you now, the guy's name was Ryan, and he was a white guy
okay.
in a Mexican gang, but he act black. He was a white guy in a
Yeah,
Mexican gang, and he acted black. He had
yeah,
gold teeth and all this, and he was crazy as all get out. Well, later on in life, life caught up with him, and he ended up killing himself
oh wow,
at a
man,
young age. He ended up killing. Actually, he ended up killing his girlfriend and himself on Valentine's Day.
wow,
And yeah, he had this. I mean, he did a lot of crazy stuff. But that gang was his family.
hmm.
He had some serious issues, and he
Yeah,
probably needed to have like a counseling session.
yeah,
But when I first seen him, he was some scrawny kid, and
Yeah.
then like he went to jail, and when he came back, he was much bigger, and it was like, whoa. But I used to say, man, you should be a part of this. But when I found out his background and his mom got killed, and like all these kind of things, it's like, man, this guy has a rough background,
Yeah.
and this gang became his family,
Yeah.
and it was all cultural, and that was just one facet. Then, again, with my Asian community, it was a whole other facet. They did stick together with family more. Like all my Asian boys were like mostly family, cousins. Some way somehow they were like related, and they stuck together, and I can appreciate,
Yeah.
like more than anything. Like they stuck together, and like whenever they needed something, they were there for each other,
Yeah.
and I appreciate that. Like from the Asian community, like they always stuck together. They always had each other's back all the way, and
Yeah.
it was like literally like real family. And then I thought some people were really cousins, and they're like, no, we're not really cousins, but we call each other cousins,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it was like, what it was.
Yeah.
So when you have like um these different just cultures, man, it makes it easier to be able to understand, because you can fit in. Like I've been to quinceañera, so I know what to do
Yeah.
at a quinceañera.
And you said it right too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, man.
Uh,
You gotta be able to. I don't know.
ha, were you ever like, have you felt like you were ever part of the Black community in the Bay Area?
Yeah,
I think you were in Oakland, right? It was Oakland?
yeah. Right outside of Oakland, in
Yeah.
in the Bay Area, Northern Cal, and
Yeah.
it's like Black community. So we're from the South. I'm originally from Atlanta.
Okay. Okay.
So Atlanta has, and Georgia is Southern hospitality.
Yeah.
So when you from the South, you have Southern roots, and one of the Southern roots is like, you're gonna go to church, boy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So regardless, I always had to go to church. Some of my other boys out there that were like straight from Oakland, they didn't have to go to church. They didn't have to do any of that. Even when I was running the streets, I still had to go to church, because that was like my Southern culture.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I went to like a Black church out
Yeah.
there, and that's how I had like a lot of connections with just the real Black community,
Okay.
the
Okay.
real Black community.
Okay. Describe that. Like, what does that look like? What's the real Black community, in that?
So the real Black community is what you experience, which is family, which is just that community, which is um, people coming together, family, love, um, um, just not so much of the ignorance, if you will.
Okay.